with the old, I'm in with the new.
Well, welcome guys. DJ Ravine here. We're here with Point Blank Music School and DJ Gammer again.
I'm back.
He's back.
Oh.
Is that how you do it now? You do it like, you have quite a bit of attitude when you do it now.
Sort of. It's like, it's so, I don't even think about it anymore. It's like riding a bike, but I'm riding a yeet.
So we are here on a rooftop in Amsterdam at ADE 2018. And what do you got for us today?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about my new track. It's called Out With The Old. I guess I wanted to do like a kind of spiritual follow-up to the drop, but I really wanted to lean on that kind of rave energy a little harder. So, you know, I've got the really euphoric strings. I've got like a thicker, fatter sort of bass down in the drop. So yeah, I hope everyone likes it. It's just come out.
What's where can I get it?
It's on Premiere Class, which is DJ Snake's label.
That's a new label or something, right?
That is a new label, and he is putting out some flipping bangers on there. Nice. And you know, fair play to Snake, because he's really supporting the talent out here.
Let's take it from the top. Let's go from the intro. So, all right. Where should we start? Let's start with these strings.
I guess with the strings, yeah. To be honest, it's absolutely nothing fancy. It's just Omnisphere, a nice whole wide world string preset, and just like a little bit of EQ just to like, you know, this is kind of taking some of the thickness out. This is adding some air. It's very subtle EQ work. And then down here, I got this like sort of justicey vocoder thing going on. And I think with everything off, it sounds like that. It's totally different. But I got this real sort of basic operator sound just going into Ableton vocoder. Mm-hmm. Bit of delay, and then between the snap heap, which is a kilohertz plugin, I got a formant filter and a phaser, both adding to that kind of, you know, dark punky style movement.
So the snap heap is pretty much just like a effects thing.
Yeah, it's there might be a bit of LFO. Yeah, look, there's an LFO here just moving the vowels a little bit. You can see this little ball here moving. It's pretty magical. This is the thing, whereas the drop was a very like clean, methodical project, this is like almost like the other extreme. This is like really throwing lots of processing and layering in there to get the sound. So
how long you reckon it took you to make this one?
This one took me, I started this one in February and I finished it around August.
Wow.
But that's because of touring. And then as it goes on, just like typical hardcore stuff, there's another pad. This one's got more. This is from Arts Acoustic Reverb, which is just like one of my favorite reverbs. Really like insanely rich sounding reverb. So I've got that, again, just some EQ and waves delay.
Yeah.
That comes in, there's another little string here from Contact. But to spice it up, to make it modern and super cool sounding, I threw in a few little vocal chops.
Cool.
And I think that's just like some splice vocal. I'm pretty much guarantee. Yep, I messed with the pitch, threw some shit on there to make it sound bigger. But
That is a huge difference.
I use processing to like make these kind of vocals. And I don't know what I plan to do. I get a vocal, go, oh, that sounds cool. And then I just start pitching it, throw reverbs on it.
Well, if you guys watched that Tropical Donk thing, it was like a whole, spent like 10 minutes trying to get the thing, and it just sounded completely different from what it was at the beginning.
And I don't overthink that, like these vocal things and strings and stuff. I don't overthink it. I kind of sit there, I kind of marinate in it a little bit, and then I just throw shit in and see what happens. And then there's the usual stuff. There's booms and little sweeps and stuff, but then we get to the sauce. Okay, this is where the happy hardcore roots come in, because this is the stuff that I really got into the layering, the EQ and everything. So I guess.
Oh my God, what is that?
Let's strip this all back. I'm going to take off all of this, all right? I'm going to start with this. I don't know if anyone is aware of the track I did with Keizo called Frequency, but this is a sound off that. However, the sound itself is like 4 things layered together.
God.
Like some weird stuff. Typical Poly. Nexus, because...
Nexus.
Got a Nexus. Another Nexus, default preset.
Oh my God, is that default Nexus preset?
Yep.
Wow.
Right there.
Amazing.
Gucci Gang, no scope. And then just typical stuff there, just EQing and some OTTs here and there. That layers together to make this.
And that's just all the synths, right?
That's just all the synths. So this is the synths, totally dry. I threw a silent in there for like that kind of future bassy super saw sound. So you put that together, we got this. And I really need to stress that one thing that makes these Audion arty style chords sound so big, it's literally the chords themselves. You get the right notes and you get that thick magic.
His chords are amazing.
I've seen him work, and it's, you know, he'll play a bit and then he'll add in these extra notes that almost like solidify how it sounds. So can't stress it enough. Get good chords, you're all good. Then I started adding the source. Now, first thing you need for a big rave synth is a big reverb.
That already sounds most of the way there.
Yeah, the key here is I sidechain the reverb. So if you listen to the reverb on its own.
So it's sidechained to itself?
Yeah, I sidechained it to itself. So you can see here, like I made a Ableton chain. The reverb part of it is just fully wet, but it's sidechaining right here just to itself. And then you mix it in. All this stuff here is mostly just automation stuff like filters and that kind of thing. So I really can just turn all this back on. One thing I have found myself with like layering loads of things is you start to get, actually I'll turn this reverb off. You start to get horrible little frequencies that are just like a result of mashing all this stuff together.
Yeah.
It's not like natural to layer like 10 flipping synths together.
And also, you got so many different plugins. There's gonna be clashes. Like, how did you get around that?
Well, here is the thing. I mean, this is like just the thing. I don't always go to this, but when stuff starts to sound, I'll take all this off, starts to sound like, I guess, harsh, then you go in and you start the cleanup. Now, if I sort of turn this on while it's playing, I had this resonant frequency here, and then this one here.
You can hear it.
Yeah, you can't hear it until you turn it on and off. So, and then like there's just like low pass. I can't remember why I went so steep with that, but I did. I think these two is just like, one's a high pass, I'm gonna guess. Yeah, one's a high boost after Mr. Darren Styles said I needed a little boost.
Okay.
The rest of it is just compressions and like gain automation, the side chains for the drop. And there you have it. That is my big polysynth. So
Fits perfectly with like any rave tune, and you know, you can really hear that rave influence.
That's what I wanted to go for, like happy hardcore, trance, rave. I felt like I don't hear enough dubstep with that kind of energy, and so I wanted to just try and add my spin on it. And then we get naturally to the build-up.
Out with the old, I'm in with the new.
So it's kind of the same as the drop, honestly. Like
That's kind of similar.
yeah, tension is what I try and go for. So you got the kind of fixed arps and strings. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Straight from sample packs, added some reverb just to fill it out. There's like because of how much is on the polysynth, I like sampled a lot of it just to make the build-up process easier.
Just filtered in.
And then when we get to the drum side of it, where are the flipping drums? Actually, I can't actually see them. Oh, here we go.
Company.
Drum builds. Yeah, there is a company build. It's not quite as apparent as the last one. For some reason, 2 snare builds. Sometimes I like to use a thicker snare doing a slower pattern, a thinner snare doing a fast pattern. You almost get like a frantic texture without it like being overwhelming, eating up all the headroom.
Yeah, and one's doing the more complicated pattern.
Yeah, I would say, like, just as an experiment, get like a 909 snare doing a straight duh, 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 and then an 808 going digga, 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 put them together and something happens. It's almost like a drum roll kind of thing. Okay, then we get to the drop. Now this is where I did get super creative. This was honestly, again, the drop, methodical, really experimenting and see what I can do. I guess the main thing we should start with is this whiny lead sound right here. Now, I love to talk about this because you would think it's from a synth or something, right? When I was on tour with Gesture, he showed me how he does his weird little vocal things, right? And I'm gonna turn all these plugins off so you can hear what it actually is.
What is that?
So I guess if I pull it back here, I can kind of sort of go through the process. So
This is like one of those challenges where they give you like a sample and it's like, make a track of that.
this is what happened. I had a drum beat going and threw this thing in and something happened. So like, you're really not going to hear it to the vocoder. The vocoder is where the magic comes in. So usual stuff. I got this vocal. I want to make it sound more, I guess, mumbatoney, distorted vocally. OTT does what OTT does, bit of reverb, which you can barely hear, loads of saturation. Okay. Then the vocoder gets in. So I guess I could try and remake this from scratch and sort of go through the process. Able to vocoder, I've sort of started getting into and really appreciating what's good about it.
It is underrated.
It is incredibly versatile. You can put it on pitch tracking and then something happens. And I just ended up with this crazy, I guess, like ridiculous tone that I loved how kind of waspy it was. I guess that's throat. And then I just, while I was messing around with it, I realized you can start automating it. So I had the vocoder. You can see where the pitch is being automated.
You still hear that voice.
Yeah, I kind
in there.
of brung the mix back a little, so you got this energy, which I guess came out when I started adding the rest of it on more distortion. High pass, some stereo stuff, an EQ, which is just a high boost, and some reverb.
Wow.
And honestly, the same applies over here. It's just chopped.
Oh, same sound.
Yep.
Sounds completely different though.
It was such an incidental thing because if I like lengthen out the notes, it will do something different. It's like I had no control over the sound itself, so I just worked with what was there, and this is what happened. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's not a polished sound, it's kind of distorted and harsh on the ears at times and weird, but that raspiness is exactly what gives it the energy. The key thing here is dialing it, some of the natural kind of sound back in, because if I throw the mix all the way up, I guess having a bit of that vocal grunt in there gives it some aggression.
Yeah.
So there is like the real messed up drop sound.
That's the VIP right there.
Get the longest yeah boy ever over it.
Yeah,
Okay, next up is the bass sound. Again, it's kind of like, it's sort of messy and a lot of processing, but I just went with it. It's my usual kind of bass sound chain where I'll throw it in and I have this random massive patch and stuff just kind of happens. Much like the other sound, I'm going to turn everything off and you're going to hear how different it all is.
It does sound familiar from the, like a little bit from the drop.
The drop, go berserk, it's like my go-to for bass stuff. It's not a bad bass sound. Shout out Darren Styles.
Hello, son.
This.
What is this?
Okay, Kilohertz disperser. I cannot describe exactly what it does. The only way I can explain it is it makes sounds a bit like thwippy. But I mean, it kind of does something weird on the frequency. You can put it on snares and then they get that kind of like glitch hop sort of whippy sound to them. So that's just adding some, I guess, like juiciness, OTT, usual stuff. There's like I had to high pass it and low pass it quite drastically to make room for the sub, as well as like obviously the main sound.
Is this like a mid bass or?
Yeah, so it's a mid bass. I've got a sub in there. Put them together. Now, I did have problems with this bass sound. I loved how it sounded, but it wasn't perfect in the mix. The only fix I could do, I got a track spacer kind of side chained against the main screech just to kind of clean it up. And then I had this, another annoying frequency.
So is there any reason why you would use EQ8 over Pro Q?
Convenience.
Okay.
It's just speed. Pro Q is fantastic for surgical EQing, but sometimes when I'm just like in the flow of just getting stuff done, I'll reach for EQ8. Like I've said before, I'm a very scatty producer. It's like sometimes I'm methodical.
Shout out the tweakers.
Shout out the tweakers, and sometimes I just throw shit down to get it done. Where I took out this frequency, I used Waves R bass just to bring back a harmonic. This plugin is great for making basses thicker on smaller speakers. You put it on an 808, pops out the mix.
Very unsuspecting.
Yeah. So, here you go, I'll just A/B all this. I couldn't have that bass sound super prominent in the mix because as you can hear, it's all super busy. Nothing fancy here, just audioed off the polysynth and there's a tape stop. Easy. Probably a high pass. I'll go, high shelf, never mind.
Love the tape stop.
I do love that tape stop. Drum wise, it's pretty much the same stuff. Kick, snare, I think that loop is straight from the drop. Little hey vocal. The occasional drum fill. OTT just to make it stupid. Very subtle, to be honest. And then we have like, I guess, I don't know, the second verse, the middle eight, I don't know what you'd call it.
Kind of just sounds like just a rave lead with the drums over.
Yeah, nothing special. Second drop, 4/4 formula. I liked how thrashy it all sounded. I think the snare is the same snare, just high passed, I'm gonna guess. A little bit of attack taken off just to make room for the kick.
Same lead and bass pattern though, right?
Everything's the same, nothing's changed. It only really changes when I get here, so I audioed the polysynths. And then it's a case of washing it out, so there's a high pass, a low pass, some reverb comes in, some delay comes in.
Have you ever used Endless Smile?
I have not. Does that do the same thing?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
But you don't get the parameters over, it's just one knob.
All right.
But sometimes that's all you need.
It looks good. We come back to all the flipping pads and stuff, but this time I threw in a little arpeggiator action.
Dreamy.
Because, you know, it's serious time. And we're back to the warpy vocals. It's actually the same vocal, just pitched down like a harmonic. And then we come naturally to the final drop.
Out with the old, I'm in with the new.
I'm pretty sure this is the exact same sound, just stretched out. And, you know, the kind of typical dubstep, let's filter it out and then back in with the sidechain thing. But yeah, this is exactly the same sound, just stretched out. I pitched up the snare to make it more glitch hoppy. Very slight overdrive on the snare just to make it pop. Again, really subtle. I started using frequency shifter to re-pitch my drums. I don't know why, but like the slight aliasing on the sample actually kind of...
So over like, over than just using the normal transpose?
Yeah, because like, I don't know, if I transpose it, you know, it's fine, but with the frequency shifter, it's kind of like the disperser effect. You get this weird like...
But also it depends on which warping mode you use as well. If you're just doing it normal transpose, it sounds different. But if you go complex pro, they all have their own little...
Yeah, but it also goes back to that speed thing. Like if I just stuck Ableton plugins, you can just throw them in and you can go boop, 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 boop. Oh, it sounds good. And honestly, that's kind of like the end of the tune, just...
So that was Sam King?
That was Sam King, and with this part of the vocal, I think it's the same vocal, but I processed it differently on every channel, so we got...
Out with the old.
Typical. Flipping trap mode.
Out with the old.
One vocoder, but another vocoder that's more stereo.
Out with the old. Out with the old. In with the new.
Cool.
And then the woo.
Woo! Because we didn't do it last time, is there anything on the master here?
Okay, I started messing with another master chain. I wanted one that kind of is a bit squeezier, but still has quite a lot of dynamics. So when I did my Lick It remix for Valentino Khan, I came up with this chain. It's so simple. So here's my Lick It remix chain, all right? And it's literally OTT.
Nice.
Right, okay. 30% amount, 1000% time, and then I get a saturator, no limiter, and just kind of bump it up, and it kind of gives you this tough sort of slappy, squeezy sound. Here we go. One thing I will say though is my master chain can change on every track depending on the feeling. I kind of make the song and then whatever I need to do to get it as loud and punchy as I want it, I slap on. So that is again where I'm kind of scatty and throw shit on. This master chain worked on this track, but won't work on another track I'm making, you know?
Well, there we have it. Thank you so much again thank you for joining us, watching this video on this rooftop here in Amsterdam and ADE. You had a good ADE. How did you find the Monstercat party? I thought it was fucking sick.
It was fucking lit. I know you're going to edit that and make it memey, that's the thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know you're going to zoom in on my face or some shit.
All right, great. Now I'm obliged to. But anyways, thanks again for coming along. Yeah, let's have a good rest of the AD. What the hell is this? I thought we were gonna do the candy thing. With the... No, let's not do that. Let's not do that. I don't have any candy to trade anyway. But anyways, thank you guys for watching again. Check out pointblankmusicschool.com if you want to find out more about dance music production, learn more about that stuff. But yeah, we're here at Spaces at our ADE and they're closed now, so we gotta go.
Stay in school.
Stay in school. Okay.